This is the first in a series of tutorials which I am running as part of my 7 into Summer prompts list as an Instagram 7-day challenge. Later on you'll find tutorials for popsicles, lemonade and pineapple. I really hope you'll enjoy this. Please bear in mind that I haven't tried to edit too much out so that you can see the real process and the thoughts behind some of the decisions that I made. I'm actually going to start a brand new watercolour sketchbook, and this is my favourite, the Moleskine watercolour notebook. And just to let you know, it's 60 pages, £130 with 25% cotton fibre cold pressed on both sides. And I don't know if you can pick up the grain, it's actually quite a smooth paper. I don't like it too rough, and it just gives me that nice balance between. This is the watercolour set I'm going to be using today by Winsor Newton. The full description will be below. You can see it's pretty messy, but I deliberately keep it this way until it's just too awful, and then I give it a good clean. And the brush I'm going to be using is this Jackson's Quill. It's probably the equivalent of a number 8 or a 10 round brush, and I like using quills because they just soak up so much water and pigment. I usually have a rough plan in terms of layout that I'm going to use on a page. I have in my head, I can see it, and I want to do a tall flute here. It's for a prompt, my own prompt list, which is on Instagram. I wanted to record these videos just to help people along, because it's not always easy to do a daily practice. It's only a 7-day prompt, but I try to help wherever I can. So I'm going to do a flute. I am using a bit of reference. I've had a look around in Pinterest and also Shutterstock, which is an image library. And with cocktails, because they're in a glass, the main thing you have to remember is to leave some white space, to be mindful of the reflections on the glass, and to start very light. I generally use, I'm not going to do it just yet, or maybe I will, and I generally use a very, very watered down Payne's grey to show the edge of the glass. You can see hopefully that I'm trying to mix up a bit of Payne's grey with the a bit of the pink, and that's just my rough rule for depicting glass, and just to keep it light in these very early stages. Sorry, I'll move that up. Sorry about that. And in this reference, it's very dark here where the edge of the glass is. If you can hear a bouncing ball, it's my daughter in the garden with her cousin. Well, I'm recording this because it's a lovely sunny day, which is jolly nice for this part of England. So that's about the right shape, and I'm just going to include just the hint of the top of the glass there. And now I'm going to go in and drop in a lot more colour, now that I know that I like this shape. So this is the pink that I keep going to is actually Opera Rose. It's my absolute favourite. I adore it. The reference I've got is actually more of a red, so I might add a tiny drop here. Bit too much. I'm going to add some water to draw it down. That's better. And another section here. And remember to keep the white showing through, and don't, at this stage, try not to add too much pigment or overwork it. I'm just going to add a tiny drop of, I don't know which red that is, but I know in my head what colours I'm using. I'm sorry I can't tell you at the top of my head. I know where my colours are within this palette, and I'm just going to leave it like that. I love the way it's spreading across slightly. Oh, lovely. And in this reference photo, I'm just going to add a tiny dab of colour here. Oh, love it. In this reference photo, there is a cherry just here. So I'm going to put a tiny cherry shape, and it's on a cocktail stick, which I'll add at a later stage. And oh, I love what it's doing already. Let's drop in a bit more of this on this side, which is darker. That's lovely. And drop in a tiny bit of red as well within there. And I'm just going to let that mix by itself. I'm not going to do anything else to it. I'm going to just let the pigment and the water do its stuff. And over here, I think I'm going to do a cocktail, which is triangular shaped glass. I don't know what you call it. So I think it'll be an orangey one. So let's mix up just a basic orange. Maybe start more with a yellowy base of this orange, and then we can introduce more orangey shades. So I've done cocktails in this type of glass before, and I think I might have started a little bit high up because I want to put a sort of a tumbler in this area here. Hold on, I'm just getting a piece of kitchen roll, and I'm just took that off very, very quickly because I don't use, as you can see, I don't use any sort of pencil guides. I'm just hoping it works out. So I should have room for a tumbler there in theory. Let's hope for the best. This area here seems to be a darker shade of orange, so I'm going to add that now. Oh, lovely. I love the way it spreads. Oh, I could literally watch paint spreading like that all day long. I love it. And maybe just up there as well. And a lot of painting with glass is all about contrast. Yeah, so again, the tiniest, weeniest Payne's grade pigment. So that's the edge of the glass there. Tiny. Keep it really, really, really gentle at this stage. I'm not trying to outline the entire glass. If you have reference photo in front of you, just squint your eyes and see where the darkest areas are of your glass, and just add the dark areas. Let the highlight areas of your glass, use the white paper to show up the highlights, and then it comes down again into a glass base. I mean, yes, of course it comes down into a glass base. That stands to reason. Yes, I meant down to the base. That's what I meant. And I'm just going to introduce a little bit of orange, and that helps to just tie things together. Hold on, I'm just going to add a little bit more water to my brush. There we go. That's lovely. I'm going to leave that for now. I'm trying to decide what I want here. So I'm talking about a tall tumbler to fill up this space here. I think the reference photo that I've got is kind of like maybe a gin and tonic, which is greeny colour. So I'm gonna have to make a little bit of space, even though I said I don't normally clean my palette. I need a tiny area for a hint of green, I think just there. So lemon yellow as the base colour, let's say, but the merest hint of it. So I'm creating the glass shape using that very, very light limey wash. Because the gin and tonic is almost a see-through drink, I have to work that little bit harder. Right, so I have to decide where the contrasts are going to be, and they're mainly within the facets of this glass. And I can see a straw in there and lime, lemon and lime. So there's probably about 3 facets in there, as in 3 segments of this glass. Use some of that, is it sap green? So this is the edge of the lime. There we go. And again, tiniest, weeniest bit of Payne's grey on the tip of my brush, and I'm just going to add the very edges of this glass. Again, emphasizing the shape. Actually, when it comes up to this edge here, it does go dark. Actually, that's not too bad. I'll go with that. And there seems to be a hint more in this section here. And there's a lemon in the background. I'm not going to add the straw at this stage. Maybe when it's drier, I'll consider adding the straw. So the lemon is about here. Just get some of that off the pigment off my brush, and I've only got water on my brush now. Lovely. I do think this side of the glass now needs a bit more emphasis. So for some of you who are familiar with my work on Instagram, you know sometimes I add, all my Skillshare classes, you know I add line work or collage, but this is purely me doing an exercise in watercolors. Even at this stage, even though I'm familiar with watercolors and I enjoy using them, I still practice. And I'm just trying to find different ways, even though I do cocktail, I've done a class on cocktails. There'll be a link in the description below. Even though I've done cocktails, always great as a working illustrator, as a working food illustrator as well, to practice. I do really enjoy working like this, and nobody is the finished article, and I'm always trying to find different ways of approaching not just food but all different subjects, even although cocktails and drinks are one of my favorite things to paint. So I'm going to leave that there. So here I think I'm going to do like an Aperol Spritz, which is one of my favorite drinks. It is more of a deep orange. So let's start off with an orange. The glass is going to be about here, and there's ice in it. So and at the bottom it is darker. So I need to include those aspects. We do need a slightly darker orange. So I'm going to use some of that opera pink just here. There's a few patches of yellow that I can see here. And now we need to include the stem. So I'm going to mix up a tiny bit of the Payne's grey with the orange and draw the rest of that stem in here. Oh, is that a little bit wonky? Maybe. I think that's all right. Yes, I think that's fine. So I might just to help things along, I might just add a few drops of orange there and on this side as well. And it is, looking at my reference, it is just that sizably more darker orange down here. And often people ask me about the reference. Can we see what reference you're using? I'm afraid I can't, because I'm using photographic reference that is the photographer's intellectual property, and this I'm just producing my interpretation of it. So my advice would be use several pieces of reference. Don't copy exactly, so that you don't get yourself into too much trouble. And let's do the edge of that glass here. and I'm actually thinking of doing a Skillshare class, how to get the best out of reference photos compared to maybe taking your own reference photos, and so that you don't get yourself into any trouble. And I think here is going to be, I know, so maybe a sort of a Tequila Sunrise. So let's start off again with a yellowy, oh, I still had a bit of blue on that. So a yellowy orange base, and if I put a dot there just to remind me, that's where the base is going to be, and it's a ball thing here, and probably starts about there with a pink section. I might have to shift it along to this side a bit because I don't want the tip of the brush, sorry, the edges of the glass to be touching this one here. I will say, oh, it comes with practice. I always hope for a decent layout, but sometimes it doesn't happen. But the more I do it, the more I understand where I need to place certain elements for it to work. So this part is yellow, and the glass goes up quite a bit further than that. Maybe there. And up here it's all yellow, so let's load a bit more yellow on my brush. And remember to leave white. There's a lovely section of pink and red mixing down here, which is gorgeous. And I'm going to let the pigment do its thing and mix on that page. I might just add a tiny bit of red there. So this glass has got a circular bit here. It goes like that. Oh yes, I think I've just about sorted this layout I've done a good job here. But the edge of the glass on this Tequila Sunrise is about there. And I've got this space here, and I'm wondering I should just put a slice of something or put another cocktail there. I think I'll put a tall glass of something, maybe a pink gin, because I do love pink. I have let this page dry a tiny bit. It's only been a few minutes since my last shot, and remember this was the first one that I started with, and this pretty much dry, and I love some of the things that happened within it. I just want really to just a few more details. Often I find that many people want to add a lot more details, but I really try to stop myself and concentrate on contrast more than anything. And there's just the merest hint here that sorry, that's too pink. I just added a tiny drop of opera rose, which was a little bit too much, so I'm going to add a little bit of red, just cadmium red there, just to help it along. And the edge of the glass here is also just that little bit darker. I think I mentioned before there is a cocktail stick here. The only thing is I've realised that I've included the edge of the glass here. It's not a big deal. I'm just going to redefine the edge of the glass because the cherry is actually sitting inside the glass. I couldn't quite work out what was happening, but I understand now. The previous line that I've included there, I can pretend that is the surface of the cocktail. So that works out fine. And the cocktail stick, it was kind of doing this thing. last thing that I'm going to add is the stalk of this cherry. Something like that. And I think that will do for this cocktail. And let's move on to this orangey one. And for me, I think we're almost there. I really loved the way it contrasted here. I think what's missing is this edge just here. For me, anyway, I think we need to include an edge just to help communicate that there is it's contained, this cocktail is contained within the glass there. I'm checking for contrast. That is what I'm doing in this second stage here. This bit right at the bottom is very dark. In this version, there's actually just a cherry there, but I've already included a cherry, so I think I do want to. I'm trying to find what is going to fit within this this negative space I've got here, and is in keeping with this cocktail. So it's just a slice of a quarter slice of orange. It's probably a little bit too orangey, but it's all right. It's all right. And I'm just going to add the rind. I don't know what happened here. I've just seen what I've done. I must have put my finger in it. Oh, edge of my palm. But anyway, it's done now. I can't do anything about it. This was my gin and tonic or something or other, and this I said had a straw in it, and because I've just put this orange there, I'm going to have to stick a straw somewhere else. So I think I'm just going to use Payne's Grey. The reference photo uses black straws, but I don't want to. When light is reflected, I think it's called refracted, through a glass, it bends and it does different things. Just going to give a hint of that happening here without having to include the entire straw, so you get an idea of what's going on in there. The lime slice needs just that little bit more oomph for me, and this section here where the edge is. And I'm just going to give a hint of it, the segment of lime. And we're almost there with this one, but I think it does need just that bumping up of contrast. So I'm going in with another layer, and parts of this are dry, parts of this have just the pigment is still wet. I'm mindful of where I'm placing this new set of pigments, and I just want to give a slight indication that it's icy in there, as in there is cubes of ice. So that's the edge of the orange slice. Oh, because I can't help myself, I just want to add a tiny bit of pink, which I can kind of sense. Oh, that just adds that extra dimension. Wonderful. Just took the pigment off my brush and there's just water on there. I think that's nice. And I'm just going to add a hint of pink just here. You can see where I've busted the side of that glass, but it's not a big deal. I just want to define, because it was a nice edge until I put the heel of my hand in there. I'm just going to redefine that edge. Not all of it. Often what people, I've noticed students do is they just want to outline an awful lot, and there's no need. Your brain can actually work it out without resorting to entire outlines of glasses. And this one, I again had a little cherry on top, which I think would contrast nicely. Lovely. And just drop in a tiny bit of red there, and there is a hint of an orange slice here, but I'm only using a wash at this stage. if I went in there with a lot of pigment and I made a mistake, it'd be more difficult to rectify. So I've got a round shape, and what I'm adding now, using more pigment on my brush, is the rind, and that's all I'm going to do. I think that just gives the impression. Now this one, which I said was like a kind of a grapefruit and orange, it actually has some sort of green sprigs sticking out of it, which I will add now, and I think sort of little bits of mint. A little mint leaf here. Again, I'm leaving a bit of white, and also I think there's a sprig of rosemary behind it. Maybe that's what it is. So it goes something like that. That's not bad. Overall, I have to say, I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. There are aspects of it which I think, oh, you know, I wish I hadn't quite approached it like that. Wish I'd done it slightly different, especially this gin and tonic down here. It is a little bit too mushed up, but you know what? I can try 10 more gin and tonics and hopefully I'll get it right. So I hope that you will enjoy this tutorial, and I would love to see your versions. Do tag me on Instagram and have fun.